If you've been thinking about adding a guest house to your property, or maybe an accessory dwelling unit or ADU, you've probably already discovered how complicated that process has become. Permits take months, sometimes years. Construction costs keep climbing. And in many parts of the country, the rules just keep tightening. So today, I want to walk you through something we hear from our owners more often than you might expect. That's that they're using their Bowlus as a full-time ADU, a backyard guest house, or a private remote work studio right on their own property. Hi, I'm Geneva Long, CEO of Bowlus, and this might be one of the most underrated ways to use one of our Bowlus travel trailers. Let me walk you through why this works so beautifully. The first reason comes down to design. A Bowlus is a finished space the moment it arrives on your property. The interior was developed with the same care that you would expect from a luxury residential project. Solid surfaces with real materials and warm light. A layout that breathes even though the footprint is small. When guests step inside, they're not just stepping into something that looks like a camper, they're stepping into a hospitality experience that quietly rivals a boutique small hotel. The small footprint matters in ways that most people do not realize until they start pricing out alternatives. A traditional guest house or an ADU can easily run several $100,000s before you even break ground. And that is before you factor in the timing, the permitting, the inspections, and the disruption to your property. A Bowlus arrives complete. You position it where you like. You can move it. You can sell it. You retain flexibility that a permanent structure simply cannot offer. And here's something a lot of homeowners do not realize until they start really looking at their property. A spot where you actually want a guest house is often a spot you cannot physically reach with a tow vehicle. Maybe it's behind a narrow gate. Maybe it's around the tight corner of a house, or maybe it's past a row of mature trees, or down a slope, or tucked into a side yard that no truck is ever going to navigate. This is where Aeromove changes the entire conversation. Aeromove is our remote-controlled drive system that lets you maneuver the Bowlus into position without a tow vehicle at all. You stand outside with the controller and you guide the Bowlus exactly where you want it, inch by inch, through spaces a truck and trailer combination simply could not get through. So properties that would never have worked for a traditional ADU or another travel trailer because there's no way to bring in materials and no room for construction equipment suddenly becomes viable. Aeromove can be the difference between this being a great idea on paper and a great idea you can actually execute on your own land. The second reason this works so well is power. One of the most common assumptions people make about travel trailers is that you need a special RV plug to use it. That's not the case with the Bowlus. You can run it directly off a standard household outlet. And that means if you have an existing exterior outlet in your home, your garage, your shed, or you've already set up, there's no need for an electrician visit. There's no service panel upgrade. There's no trench to dig, no pad to build. You plug in and you are running. For owners who want to take it further, the Bowlus has a substantial onboard battery system, and that increases further depending on the battery package that you choose. So even if you're running the trailer on standard household power, you have backup capacity built in. If the grid goes down, your guest house keeps functioning. That is a level of resilience most permanent ADUs cannot match without significant additional investment. The third reason comes down to lifestyle. The way people work and host guests has changed permanently. Remote work is here to stay, so is hybrid work. So the expectation that when family or friends come visit, they will stay for longer stretches than they used to is true. A Bowlus solves both of these needs at the same time. As a remote workspace, it is genuinely exceptional. You have natural light from every angle, you have quiet, you have separation from the main house, which means you can take a video call without dogs barking or kids walking through the frame. The acoustics inside a Bowlus are unlike anything else in the RV category because of how the shell is constructed. You can actually think in there. As a guest space, your visitors get full privacy. They have their own kitchen, their own bathroom, their own bed, and their own thermostat, and you get your house back. The fourth reason is one of the most important conversations happening in real estate right now, and that is what's going on with building restrictions. In California especially, we are watching homeowners run into tightening web of zoning rules, fire safety requirements, insurance limitations, and rising construction costs. Building permanent square footage on your property is harder and more expensive than it has ever been. In some jurisdictions, you simply cannot do it at all anymore. A Bowlus sidesteps a lot of that because it's a registered travel trailer, not a permanent structure, so the regulatory landscape it lives in is fundamentally different. You're not pouring a foundation, you're not adding to assessed square footage, you aren't required to add more parking spaces, you're not triggering the same permitting cycles. For homeowners who want the function of a guest house or an ADU without the multi-year battle to build one, this is a meaningful path forward. I always recommend checking with your local jurisdiction on the specifics for your property because the rules do vary, but the flexibility a Bowlus offers is very real. Now I want to talk about the update we are most excited about because this is brand new and it directly addresses the one piece of feedback we've heard most often from owners using a Bowlus on their property. And that piece of feedback is about the toilet. Historically, every Bowlus has shipped with a cassette toilet. That system works beautifully when you're traveling, when you're off-grid, because you're not tied to any infrastructure. You empty the cassette wherever you stop directly into the toilet, porta potty, or sewer cleanout. But when you're using your Bowlus as a stationary guest house on your own property, some owners have told us they would rather skip the cassette routine entirely and tap directly into the home's septic system, just like a regular bathroom would. We heard you, and we built it. We are now offering a modified toilet system that connects directly into your existing septic. So if you're someone who's been quietly looking at ADU costs in your area and walking away from the conversation because the numbers just do not work, I want you to consider this differently. A Bowlus can give you the guest house, the office, the long-term flexibility, and the design experience you exactly want. And it can do it without the permit fight, the construction timeline, or the permanence. If this resonates with you, we would love to show you one in person. Our exclusive showroom is in Santa Barbara, California, and our mobile service network supports owners across the country. You can reach us directly through bowlus.com, drop your questions in the comments, we read them all, and use them to plan future videos. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow along for more Bowlus tips and tricks. We'll see you in the next one.